Hi, welcome to this Corbettmaths video. In this video, we're going to look at the video solutions to the practice questions on equations and equations involving fractions. So if you go to Corbettmaths and go to video number 111, there's a dedicated video tutorial there on solving equations that involve fractions. But in this video, we're going to focus on the video solutions to the practice questions. So let's get started. Okay, so question number one. So question number one says solve x over 4 equals 8. So here we've got x over 4, x divided by 4. We want to get the x on its own, so we want to get rid of this divide by 4. So we're going to do the inverse operation. So the inverse of dividing by 4 would be to multiply by 4. So we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by 4. So we're going to multiply the left-hand side by 4, and we're also going to multiply the right-hand side of the equation by 4. So if you've got x divided by 4 and then you times by 4, you're just going to get x. Because for instance, if x was equal to 20, 20 divided by 4 is equal to 5. And then if you times by 4, you get 20. So that means we would just have x there. And we'd multiply by 4 to get rid of that divide by 4. So we're just left with x. And then on the right hand side, we've got 8 multiplied by 4 is equal to 32. So it means that x is equal to 32. So x is equal to 32. And that's it, we've solved that first equation. Okay, question number 2. Okay, so question number 2 says solve y divided by 5 equals 5. So we want to get rid of this divide by 5, so we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by 5, because we want to get the y on its own on that left-hand side of the equation. So y divided by 5 multiplied by 5, that's going to get rid of the divide by 5, so we're just going to be left with y equals, and then 5 times 5 is equal to 25. So it means that y is equal to 25. And we can check our answer. If we had 25 divided by 5, that's equal to 5. And that's it. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 3. So question number 3, we've got w plus 3 all over 4 equals 2. So we want to solve this equation, so we want to get the w on its own. So if we want to get the w on its own, the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this divide by 4. So I'm going to multiply the left-hand side of the equation by 4, and I'm going to multiply the right-hand side of the equation by 4. So we're multiplying by 4 to get rid of this divide by 4, so we're just going to be left with what's on the numerator, which is w plus 3 on the left-hand side of the equation. And then the right-hand side of the equation, we've got 2 multiplied by 4, that's equal to 8. So we've got the w plus 3 is equal to 8. Now we want to get the w on its own, so we want to get rid of this plus 3. So we're going to take away 3 from the left-hand side of the equation, and we're going to take away 3 from the right-hand side of the equation. On the left-hand side, we had w plus 3. We're taking away 3 to get rid of the plus 3, so we're just going to be left with w. And then the right-hand side, we had 8 take away 3, and 8 take away 3 is equal to 5. So it means that w is equal to 5, so w is equal to 5. And let's just check that. If w is equal to 5 on the numerator, we get 5 plus 3, that's 8. And then divided by 4 is equal to 2. So that's right. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 4. Okay, so question number 4 says to solve 2a over 3 is equal to 8. So we want to get the a on its own. So let's get rid of this divide by 3. Let's get rid of this denominator. So let's multiply both sides of the equation by 3. So let's multiply the left-hand side of the equation by 3 and multiply the right-hand side of the equation by 3. So on the left-hand side, we had 2a divided by 3. We're times by 3 to get rid of the divide by 3, so we're just going to be left with 2a. So 2a, that numerator, and that's equal to, and 8 times 3 is equal to 24. So we've got that 2a is equal to 24. Now we want to get the a on its own, so we want to get rid of this multiply by 2. So let's divide by 2 and divide by 2. So on the left-hand side of the equation, we've got 2a. We want to get rid of this multiply by 2, so we're dividing by 2. So we're just going to be left with a. And then on the right-hand side of the equation, we had 24 divided by 2. That's equal to 12. So a is equal to 12. And let's just check that. 2 times 12 is 24. Divided by 3 is 8. So that's right. So a is equal to 12. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 5. Okay, so let's have a look at question number 5. Now, question number 5, we've got 3w divided by 4 is equal to a half. Now, I'm going to do this question in 2 different ways. So I'm going to use one approach, and then I'm going to use cross multiplication in my second approach. So in terms of my first approach here, we've got 3w divided by 4 equals a half. So let's write that down. 3w divided by 4 over 4 equals a half. So if I wanted to solve this equation, I want to get rid of this divide by 4. So I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by 4. So I'm going to multiply the left-hand side by 4, and I'm going to multiply the right-hand side by 4. We had 3w divided by 4. We're timesing by 4 to get rid of the divide by 4, so we're just going to be left with 3w. And then the right-hand side, we had a half times 4. Now, half times 4 would be equal to, well, half times 4 would be equal to 2, because if you've got 4 halves and you add them all up, that'd be equal to 2. Now here, this half multiplied by 4 would be equal to 2, as I mentioned. So that's equal to 2. And then finally, we want to find out what w is. So we want to get rid of this multiplied by 3. So I'm going to divide both sides of the equation by 3. So divide the left-hand side by 3 and the right-hand side by 3. 3w divided by 3 would just be w, and then 2 divided by 3 would be 2/3. I'm going to leave it as a fraction. So the answer is 2/3. So w is 2/3. So that's one approach. Now with questions like this, where we've got a fraction equals a fraction, I like to use cross multiplication. So cross multiplication is that if you multiply this numerator by that denominator, it'd be the same as that numerator multiplied by that denominator. So 3w times 2 would be the same as 1 times 4. And just to show why that's the case, if we had a over b equals c over d, if we had that, you can multiply both sides of the equation by b, and if you multiply both sides of the equation by b, you'd just be left with a on the left hand side, and then the right hand side we'd have c over d times b, and c over d multiplied by b, which is the same as b over 1, would be cb over d, or bc over d. So I'm just going to bc over d. And then you can multiply both sides of the equation by d, and then if you multiply both sides of the equation by d, you'd get ad equals BC. So that numerator times that denominator, AD, is equal to that numerator times that denominator, BC, and that's it. So here, if we had this, a fraction equals a fraction like this, I could just multiply those two together and multiply those two together and put them equal to each other. And it's actually just a quicker and easier way to solve some of these questions. So 3w times 2 would be 6w equals 4 times 1 is equal to 4. So here we've got our question and we've gone straight to 6w equals 4. So it's just a bit quicker than that. And then we can divide both sides of the equation here by 6. So divide by 6 and divide by 6. So the left hand side would be left with w. And then the right hand side we'd have 4 divided by 6. So 4 over 6. And that cancels down to 2/3. So w equals 2/3. And that's it. So to solve that question, w equals 2/3. And let's just check our answer. If you've got 2/3 and you times it by 3, well, 2/3 times 3 will be equal to 2, because 2/3 of 3 is equal to 2. Divided by 4, well, 2 over 4 is a half, and that equals a half. So that's it. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 6. Okay, so question number 6, we've got 2w plus 1 over 5 equals 3/8. So again, we could solve this like our first approach here, where we multiply both sides of the equation by 5, and then we see what we get, and then we can multiply both sides by 8 and so on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use cross multiplication. Now, this is calculator questions, that's quite handy, but I'm just going to use cross multiplication. So I'm going to multiply that numerator by that denominator and put it equal to that numerator times that denominator. So we've got 2w plus 1, so 2w plus 1, multiplied by 8. Now I want to multiply this by 8, so I'm just going to put it in a bracket and put 8 in front of it, because that's 8 times that numerator. So 8 times that equals 3 times 5. And 3 times 5 is 15. Now we want to solve this, so let's expand our brackets. 8 times 2w would be 16w, and 8 times 1 is plus 8, and that equals 15. So we've just expanded our brackets, and now we just need to solve this equation. So we've got 16w plus 8 equals 15. So let's take away 8 from both sides of the equation. So on the left-hand side, we'd be left with 16w. And then on the right-hand side, we'd have, well, the 8 take away 8 is 0, so that's why we're not writing anything there. And then 15 take away 8 is equal to 7. And then finally, we just need to divide by 16 and divide by 16. So we'd be left with, on the left-hand side, w, and on the right-hand side, 7 over 16. So 7 over 16, or 7/16. So the answer is 7/16. And you can leave your answer as a fraction like that. You could change it to a decimal if you wanted to, and for that, if you did that, it's equal to, and that would be equal to 0.4375. So you could write it as a fraction or as a decimal. I probably would just give it as a fraction, and that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 7. So question number 7 says to solve 10x minus 1 over 7 equals 8. So we've got 10x minus 1 all over 7 equals 8. So if we want to solve this equation, we want to get the x on its own, so let's get rid of this divide by 7. So I'm going to multiply the left-hand side of the equation by 7 and the right-hand side of the equation by 7. On the left-hand side of the equation, we're multiplying by 7 to get rid of this divide by 7 with the denominator. So we're just going to be left with 10x minus 1. And then the right-hand side of the equation, we had 8 times 7. That's going to be 56. Now, we've got 10x minus 1 equals 56. We want to get rid of this minus 1 and this multiplied by 10. So let's add 1 to both sides of the equation. On the left-hand side of the equation, we're adding 1 to get rid of the minus 1. So we're just going to be left with 10x. And on the right-hand side of the equation, we had 56, add 1 would be 57. And then finally, that's 57, sorry about the handwriting there, we've got 10x equals 57. We want to get rid of this multiplied by 10, so we're going to divide both sides by 10. So divide the left-hand side of the equation by 10 and the right-hand side of the equation by 10. On the left-hand side, we'll just be left with x. And on the right-hand side, with 57 divided by 10, that's going to be 5.7. So it means x is equal to 5.7. And we can check our answer here. 10 times 5.7 is 57, minus 1 is 56, and 56 divided by 7 is equal to 8. So that's it, we've got it right. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 8. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 8. So question number 8 says solve 7c plus 4 all over 8 equals 11. So let's get rid of this divide by 8. So let's multiply the left-hand side of the equation by 8 and multiply the right-hand side of the equation by 8. So that means we're going to be left with, on the left-hand side, 7c plus 4. And on the right-hand side, we had 11. Multiplied by 8, that's going to be equal to 88. Now we want to solve this equation, so we're going to take away 4 from both sides, so subtract 4 and subtract 4. On the left-hand side, we're taking away 4 to get rid of the plus 4, so we're just going to be left with 7c. And on the right-hand side, we had 88, take away 4, that's going to be 84. And then finally, we've got 7 times c is equal to 84. You can probably see straight away it's going to be 12. 7 times 12 is 84. But we're going to divide by 7 and divide by 7, and we're going to get that c is equal to 12. So c is equal to 12, and that's it. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 9. Okay, so question number 9, it says solve 53 minus 2x all over 5 equals 7. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by 5 to get rid of this denominator. So multiply by 5 and multiply by 5. On the left-hand side, we're multiplying by 5 to get rid of the divide by 5. So we're going to be left with 53 minus 2x. And on the right-hand side, we had 7 times 5, that's 35. So we've got 53, take away 2 times x is equal to 35. Now we want to solve this equation, so at this point, what I could do is I could take away 53 from both sides to leave us with minus 2x on this left-hand side. I'm actually going to add 2x to both sides here, just because this is minus 2x. So I'm going to add 2x to the left-hand side to get rid of it, and I'm going to add 2x to the right-hand side to make it positive. So that's just going to help us a little bit. So on the left-hand side, we're going to be left with 53. And on the right-hand side, we had 35 plus 2x, 35 plus 2x. Now, I'm just going to go over here. 53 equals 35 plus 2x. We want to solve this equation, so let's take away 35 from both sides. So subtract 35 and subtract 35. 53 take away 35 is equal to 18, so we're going to have 18 on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, we're taking away 35 to get rid of the 35, so we'll just be left with 2x. And then finally, that's 2 times x, so we're going to divide both sides by 2, so divide by 2 and divide by 2. And 18 divided by 2 is 9. So we're going to get 9 is equal to x. That means that x is equal to 9, and that's it, so x is 9. And let's just check our answer. 2 times 9 is 18. 53 take away 18 is equal to 35. Divided by 5 is equal to 7, and that's it. So we know we've got that one right. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 10. Okay, so question number 10, it says solve 11 minus w over 5 is equal to 3 plus w. So let's get rid of this divide by 5. So let's multiply the left-hand side by 5 and multiply the right-hand side by 5. When we multiply the left-hand side by 5, we're just going to be left with the numerator, which is 11 minus w. And then on the right-hand side, we've got 3 plus w. We're times them by 5. We could just multiply it all by 5 and get 15 plus 5w there. Or we could put it in a bracket and write 5 and then bracket 3 plus w, because that's multiplying 3 plus w by 5. And then if you expand the bracket, so you can have 11 minus w is equal to 5 times 3, that's 15, and 5 times w is plus 5w. Now at this point, you could have just multiplied both of these by 5 to get 15 plus 5w, and then that's that. Now we want to solve this equation, so we've got w's on both sides of the equation. Let's get rid of the lowest one, which is our minus w. So to get rid of this minus w, we're going to add w to both sides of the equation. So add w and add w. On the left hand side, we're just going to be left with 11. And on the right hand side, we had 15 plus 5w plus another w would be 6w. So it's going to be 15 plus 6w. Now we want to solve this equation, so I'm just going to go up here. 11 equals 15 plus 6w. We want to get the w on its own, so let's get rid of this 15. So let's take away 15 and take away 15. 11 take away 15 is minus 4, so minus 4. And then that equals then 6w. And then we want to get rid of this multiplied by 6, so let's divide by 6 and divide by 6. So we're going to have minus, and then we've got 4 divided by 6, that's 4/6. Is equal to w. And then if we turn this around, we get w is equal to minus 4/6. And then finally, that can be cancelled down to w is equal to, if we cancel that down, minus 2/3. And that's it. So w is equal to minus 2/3. Okay, so question number 11 says solve 9 brackets 4x minus 1 close brackets all over 2x equals 15. So we want to get rid of this denominator, so let's multiply both sides by 2x. So let's multiply the left hand side by 2x and multiply the right hand side by 2x. The left hand side will just be the numerator, 9 brackets 4x minus 1, because we're multiplying by 2x to get rid of the denominator, so we'll be left with that numerator. And then the right hand side with 15 times 2x. Well, 15 times 2 is 30, then x, so 30x. Now let's expand our brackets. 9 times 4x would be 36x, and then 9 times minus 1 will be minus 9 equals, and then we've got 30x. Now we just want to solve this equation. Now we've got x's on both sides, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the lowest number of x's. So I'm going to get rid of this 30x. So let's take away 30x from both sides of the equation. So 36x, take away 30x would be 6x. And then we've still got our minus 9, and then that equals 30x, take away 30x would be 0. So we've got 6x minus 9 equals 0. Let's just write that up here. 6x minus 9 equals 0. Now we want to get the x on its own, so let's get rid of this minus 9, so let's add 9 to both sides of the equation. So the left hand side would just become 6x, and the right hand side would be 9. And then finally we want to get the x on its own, so let's divide both sides by 6. So divide by 6 and divide by 6, and we'll get that x is equal to 9 divided by 6, so that's 9/6, and if we cancel that down, divide both of those by 3, we'll get that's equal to 3 over 2, or 3 halves, so 3 over 2, so x is equal to 3 over 2, or 1.5. And we can check this. 4 times 1.5 is 6, take away 1 is 5, times 9 is 45, so that's 45. 2 times 1.5 is 3, 45 divided by 3 is 15, so we're right. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 12. Okay, so question number 12 says to solve x minus 8 all over 3 equals 7x over 9. So what I'm going to do here is we've got a fraction equals a fraction, so I'm going to use cross multiplication. So that numerator times that denominator is equal to that numerator times that denominator. So x minus 8 times 9, so I'm just going to do 9 and then brackets x minus 8, because that means we're multiplying our x minus 8 by 9, and then equals 3 times 7x, well 3 times 7 is 21x, so 21x. Now let's expand our brackets. 9 times x would be 9x, and 9 times minus 8, well 9 times 8 is 72, so it's going to be minus 72. Just expand the brackets there. And that equals 21x. Now we want to get rid of the lowest number of x's here, so I'm going to take away 9x from both sides. So take away 9x's and take away 9x's. 9x, take away 9x is 0, and we've still got our minus 72, so minus 72 equals, and then 21x, take away 9x is 12, so 12x. And I'm just going to write this up here. Minus 72 equals 12x. We're going to divide by 12 and divide by 12. So that means we'd have minus 72 divided by 12. Well, 72 divided by 12 is 6. So that'll be minus 6 equals x. So x equals minus 6. And that's it. We're done. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 13. Okay, so question number 13 says solve w plus 7 over 4 plus 3w plus 1 over 2 equals negative 3. And we've been asked to show our working. Well, obviously, we're going to be showing our working in these questions. Okay, so here we've got a fraction plus another fraction equals negative 3. Now, these two fractions, if we look at the denominators, we've got 4 and 2. And that's not a coincidence. I've chosen these denominators on purpose. Because if I double both the numerator and denominator of this fraction, we'll also have another 4 there. And then that means we can add the fractions quite nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double both the numerator and denominator of this fraction, so we're dealing with quarters there as well. So w plus 7 over 4 plus, and then doubling both the numerator and denominator. Doubling the numerator would be 6w plus 2, doubling both of those, over, and then double the denominator would be 4. Equals minus 3. So now we've got two fractions with the same denominator. So now we can just add the numerators. W plus 6w would be 7w, so 7w. And then we've got 7 plus 2, and 7 plus 2 is 9, so plus 9 over 4. And that's equal to negative 3. Okay, now this is fantastic. We can just solve this equation. We're going to multiply both sides by 4. So multiply by 4 and multiply by 4. The left-hand side would just be 7w plus 9 because we're multiplying by 4 to get rid of the divide by 4. So 7w plus 9. And the right-hand side would be minus 3 times 4 would be minus 12. Okay, now I'm going to go up here. So 7w plus 9 equals minus 12. We want to get the w on its own, so let's take away 9 and take away 9. So we'll be left with 7w equals, and minus 12 take away 9 will be minus 21. And then divide by 7 and divide by 7, we'll be left with w equals minus 3, because 21 divided by 7 is 3. So minus 21 divided by 7 will be minus 3. So w equals minus 3. And that's it. And we can check our answer. Minus 3 plus 7 is 4, divided by 4 is 1, so that's 1. 3 times minus 3 is minus 9, plus 1 is minus 8, divided by 2 would be minus 4. So we've got 1 plus minus 4, and that's minus 3, so we know we're right. So w is equal to minus 3, and that's it. Okay, so let's have a look at our next question, question number 14. So question number 14 says to solve 2x minus 6 over 2 plus x plus 1 over 5 equals 8. And we've been asked to show our working. So here we've got two fractions added together equals 8. So let's find a common denominator. And with 2 and 5, I'm thinking 10, because 10 is the first number in both of their times tables. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 5, 10. So let's multiply both the numerator and denominator of this fraction by 5. So 2x times 5 would be 10x. Minus 6 times 5 would be minus 30. And 2 times 5 would be 10. So we find that equivalent fraction. Plus, and then we're going to multiply both the numerator and denominator of this fraction by 2. So doubling the numerator would be 2x plus 2. And the denominator, doubling that, would be 10. And that equals 8. So this is fantastic. We've now got two fractions with the same denominator. So we can add them together. 10x plus 2x is 12x. Minus 30 plus 2 would be minus 28. And then that's still over 10. And that equals 8. Now we want to solve this, so let's multiply both sides of the equation by 10. So multiply by 10 and multiply by 10. The left-hand side, we're multiplying by 10 to get rid of the divide by 10, so we'll be left with 12x minus 28. And the right-hand side, we're going to have 80. Now I'm going to go over here, so we've got 12x minus 28 equals 80. To solve this equation, I'm going to add 28 to both sides, so add 28 and add 28. So the left-hand side will be 12x. We're adding 28 to get rid of the minus 28. And the right-hand side will be 108. Now we just need to divide by 12 and divide by 12. And 12x divided by 12 will just be x. And 108 divided by 12 will be equal to 9. So x equals 9. So x is 9. And again, we can check our answer. 2 times 9 is 18. Minus 6 would be 12. Divided by 2 would be 6. 9 plus 1 is equal to 10, divided by 5 would be 2. And 6 plus 2 is equal to 8. So that's it. We're right. Okay, so let's have a look at question number 15. So question number 15 says to solve m plus 6 all over 2, subtract 2m minus 2 all over 3 is equal to 3. Okay, so we've got a fraction, subtract another fraction is equal to 3. So let's work out what these fractions would be. Let's simplify this left-hand side. So we've got a denominator of 2 and a denominator of 3. So we want to find the lowest common multiple of 2 and 3, so that's going to be 6. So the common denominator that I'm going to go for is 6. So I'm going to have something over 6, subtract something over 6. And then that's going to be equal to 3. Okay, so to get from 2 to 6, you multiply by 3. So let's multiply the numerator by 3. So if you multiply both of those by 3, you're going to get 3m plus 18. And here, to get from 3 to 6, you double it, you times by 2. So let's multiply both of these by 2. So it's going to be 4m, subtract 4. So this is fantastic. We've got two fractions with the same denominator. So let's simplify it. So we're going to have something over 6 equals 3. 3m, take away 4m, that's going to be minus 1m, or just minus m. And then we've got 18, subtract minus 4. So 18 minus minus 4. So whenever you're subtracting a negative, you're going to add it on. So it's going to be 18 plus 4, and that's going to be plus 22. So it's going to be 22. So just to recap that, 18 minus minus 4 would be 22. Now we want to then get rid of this divide by 6. So let's multiply by 6 and multiply by 6. So the left-hand side would just be the numerator, minus m plus 22. And the right-hand side, we've got 3 times 6, that's 18. So we've then got minus m plus 22 is equal to 18. Now at this point, we could add m to both sides, or I'm actually just going to take away 22 from both sides here. So take away 22 and take away 22. So that would leave us on the left-hand side with just minus m. And the right-hand side with 18, take away 22, that's going to be minus 4. So we've got minus m is equal to minus 4. So that means if we change the signs here, m would be equal to 4. Because if minus m is equal to minus 4, m would be 4. And that's it, so m is equal to minus 4. Another way that you might approach this is to say we'll multiply both of these numbers by negative 1. Negative 1 times negative m would be m, and negative 1 times negative 4 would be 4. Or you could just change the signs. And that's it. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 16. So question number 16, we've been asked to solve 4k minus 5 over 7, subtract k plus 2 over 2 equals negative 1. We've been asked to show our working. So again, we've got a fraction, subtract another fraction equals negative 1. So let's work out what this would be. Let's simplify this left-hand side. So with our denominators, we've got 7 and 2. So our common denominator would be 14. So the one I'm going to go for is 14. So I'm going to write a fraction with 14 on the denominator and take away another fraction with 14 on the denominator. To get from 7 to 14, we multiply by 2, so let's double the numerator, so it'll be 8k, subtract 10. And to get from 2 to 14, we times by 7, so let's multiply both of these by 7, so we get 7k plus 14, and that equals negative 1. Okay, so now let's work out the subtraction here. So we're going to have a fraction over 14. 8k, subtract 7k, that's going to be k. And minus 10 minus 14, well, minus 10 take away another 14 will be minus 24. And that's equal to negative 1. Okay, now let's multiply both sides by 14. So here we're going to multiply by 14 and by 14. So we'll be left with the numerator, k subtract 24 is equal to, and then we're multiplying both sides by 14, so that'll be minus 1 times 14 would be minus 14. Just multiply both sides by 14 there. Multiply by 14 and multiply by 14. Okay, now we want to get the k on its own, so let's add 24. So let's add 24 and add 24. So we get the k on its own, then we'd have negative 14 plus 24, so that's going to be 10. So k is equal to 10. And let's just check our answer. 4 times 10 is 40, take away 5 is 35, divided by 7 is 5. And then we've got 10 plus 2, 10 plus 2 is 12, divided by 2 is 6. So we've got 5 take away 6, that's negative 1. So k is equal to 10, that's it. Okay, so let's have a look at our next question, question number 17. So question number 17, we've been asked to solve 10x minus 3 over 3 plus 5x plus 2 over 4 is equal to 5. So, and it's a calculator question. So here, if we have a look at our fractions, we've got denominators of 3 and 4. So I'm thinking a good common denominator would be 12. So let's multiply both the numerator and denominator of this fraction by 4, and both the numerator and denominator of this fraction by 3. So let's have a fraction with 12 on the denominator there, plus a fraction with 12 on the denominator there, equals 5. So if we multiply both the numerator and denominator of this fraction by 4, we would get from 3 to 12. So let's multiply the numerator by 4. So it's going to be 10x times 4 is 40x minus, and 3 times 4 is 12. And to get from 4 to 12, we times by 3. So let's multiply both of these by 3. 3 times 5x is 15x, and 3 times 2 is plus 6. Okay, now we've got 40x minus 12 over 12 plus 15x plus 6 over 12 equals 5. So here we're going to add, so let's get our fraction with 12 on the denominator. 40x plus 15x is 55x, so 55x. And then minus 12 plus 6, well, if you're at minus 12 and you add 6, you got 6, you're going to get to minus 6. And that equals 5. Okay, now we want to solve this, so let's multiply both sides by 12. So multiply by 12 and multiply by 12 to get rid of the denominator of 12. So that means we'll be left with the numerator, 55x minus 6. And on the right-hand side, 5 times 12 is 60. Now if we add 6 to both sides, we would then get 55x, so 55x is equal to 66. So I'm just going to go up here, 55x is equal to 66. And let's divide by 55, so divide by 55. And divide by 55, and we get that x is equal to 66 over 55, and then if we divide both of those by 11, that's equal to 6/5. So it means that x is equal to 6/5, or 1.2. So x is 1.2, or 6/5, or 1 1/5, and that's it. And we can check our answer. 10 times 1.2 is 12, take away 3 is 9, divided by 3 is 3. 5 times 1.2 is 6, plus 2 is 8, divided by 4 will be 2, and 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. And that's it, so we've got it right. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 18. Okay, so question number 18, we've been asked to solve w minus 4 over 3 plus w plus 1 over 6 is equal to 7 over 2. So I'm actually just going to double the numerator and denominator of this fraction, because that'll give us 6 on the denominator. So that'll be 2w minus 8 over 6, just doubling the numerator and denominator, plus w plus 1 over 6 equals 7 over 2. Now we've got denominators of 6, that's fantastic. 2w plus w is equal to 3w, and minus 8 plus 1 would be minus 7, and that equals 7 over 2. Now at this point I'm going to use cross multiplication. I'm going to multiply that numerator by that denominator, and that numerator by that denominator, and put them equal to each other. We talked about that earlier on in the video. 3w subtract 7 multiplied by 2, so that'll be 6w. So that'll be 6w minus 14, just doubling those, equals, and 7 times 6 is 42. Then if we add 14 to both sides, so add 14 and add 14, we'll get the left-hand side is 6w, and the right-hand side, 42 plus 14 is equal to 56. And now we just need to divide by 6, so divide by 6 and divide by 6. And if we do, so that means that w will be equal to 56 over 6, or on our calculator, if we do 56 divided by 6, 56 divided by 6 is equal to, that's equal to 9 1/3, or 9.333, and so on. I'm going to go for 9 1/3, 9 1/3. So w is 9 1/3, and that's it. Or you could have written 28 over 3. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 19. So question number 19, we've been asked to solve 3y minus 1 over 6 plus 4y plus 3 over 12 equals 7 over 3. So let's deal with this left-hand side to begin with. We've got a fraction plus a fraction, so let's simplify this. And I'm actually just going to double both the numerator and denominator of this first fraction, because that'll give us 12 on the denominator, like the other one. So if we double both the numerator, well, that would be 6y minus 2, and the denominator, 12, then we'd have then plus 4y plus 3 over 12 equals 7/3. So we've just doubled both the numerator and denominator of that first fraction. Now we're going to simplify this, so let's add them together. So we'd have a fraction with 12 on the denominator. 6y plus 4y is 10y. And then minus 2 plus 3, that'll be plus 1, because minus 2 plus 3 would bring you to 1. And that's equal to 7 over 3. Now here we've got a fraction equals a fraction, so I'm going to use cross multiplication. I'm going to multiply that numerator by that denominator and put it equal to that numerator times that denominator. 10y plus 1 times 3, well, that'll be 30y plus 3, and then just multiplying both of those by 3, and then 7 times 12 will be 84. And then if we take away 3 and take away 3, we're going to get that 3y equals 81, and then divide by 30 and divide by 30, and we'll get that y is equal to, that's equal to 2.7. So y is equal to 2.7, and that's it. So just to recap that question, we doubled both the numerator and denominator of that first fraction. We then had two fractions of 12 on the denominator, so we added the numerators. That gave us 10y plus 1 over 12, and that equals 7/3. I used cross multiplication, and that gave me 30y plus 3 equals 84. And then just solve that by taking away 3 from both sides, and then dividing both sides by 30, and that's it. Okay, so let's have a look at our next question, question number 20. So question number 20, we've been asked to solve 3x plus 1 over 5 plus x minus 6 over 4 plus x over 10 equals 12. So here we're adding three fractions. So I'm going to find a common denominator. So we've got 5, 4 and 10. I'm thinking 20 because 5, 10, 15, 20. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 10, 20. So I'm going to go for 20 plus something over 20 plus something over 20 equals 12. To get from 5 to 20, we multiply by 4. So let's multiply everything in the numerator by 4. 4 times 3x is 12x, and 4 times 1 will be plus 4. So that's that done. So 3x plus 1 over 5 would be equal to 12x plus 4 over 20. That's our equivalent fraction. To get from 4 to 20, we times by 5. So let's multiply the numerator by 5. So x times 5 is 5x, and minus 6 times 5 would be minus 30. And to get from 10 to 20, we times by 2, so let's double the numerator, that'll be 2x. Okay, now let's simplify this. So we're going to get something over 20, and let's add it all together. 12x plus 5x is 17x, plus 2x is 19x, that's 19x. And then in terms of the numbers, 4 plus negative 30, so 4 take away 30 would be minus 26, and that's it, so minus 26. And that equals 12. And just to recap that, 12x plus 5x is 17x, plus 2x is 19x. And 4 plus negative 30, so whenever you add a negative, it's going to go back down. So 4 take away 30 would be negative 26. And that's all over 20, and that's equal to 12. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to solve this. So let's multiply both sides of the equation by 20. So times by 20 and times by 20 to get rid of this denominator. So we'll be left with the numerator, 19x minus 26. And that's going to be equal to 240, because 12 times 20 is equal to 240. We're now going to add 26 to both sides, so add 26 and add 26. So we're going to get the left-hand side, 19x, and then the right-hand side, 266. And then divide it by 19 and divide by 19. We're going to get the x is equal to 266 divided by 19 is equal to 14. So x is equal to 14. So x is 14, and that's it. 14, that's our answer. X is equal to 14. Okay, let's have a look at our last question, question number 21. So question number 21, we've got 2a minus 5 over 4 minus 1 minus a over 3 is equal to 3a plus 1 over 6. So here we've got a fraction take away a fraction. So let's simplify this left-hand side. So in terms of a common denominator, I'm going to go for 12 here because we've got 3 and 4, so I'm going to go for 12. So something over 12 minus something over 12 will be equal to 3a plus 1 over 6. We're leaving that right-hand side alone for the minute. To get from 4 to 12, we multiply by 3. So let's multiply the numerator by 3. So 2a times 3 would be 6a, and minus 5 times 3 would be minus 15. To get from 3 to 12, we times by 4, so let's multiply the numerator by 4. 1 times 4 is 4, and 4 times minus a would be minus 4a. Okay, so we've now got two fractions with 12 on the denominator, and we're taking them away. So that'll give us an answer with 12 on the denominator. 6a take away minus 4a. Well, it's going to be 6a minus 4a, so we're going to add that on, so it's going to be 10a, so 10a. And minus 15 minus 4, so it'll be minus 19. And that equals 3a plus 1 over 6. Okay, now at this point here, we've got a fraction equals a fraction. Now one approach would be to use cross multiplication. You can multiply that numerator by that denominator and put it equal to that numerator times that denominator, and that's totally fine, you could do that. Now actually in this question, I'm going to approach it in a slightly different way just to show you this other approach here. So here we've got a denominator of 12 and here we've got a denominator of 6. And here I'm just thinking if I double this, both the numerator and the denominator, so double both the numerator and denominator, I'm going to get 12 on the denominator. So let's just see what happens when I do that. So if I double both of those, I'm going to get 10a minus 19 over 12 equals, that's going to be, if I double it, 6a plus 2 over 12. So I've just doubled the numerator and the denominator, so that's an equivalent fraction. Now I could have used cross multiplication, and that's totally fine, and that would work. And it's a calculator question, so that would be handy as well. Now here we've got a fraction over 12 equals a fraction over 12. This numerator must be equal to that numerator. For instance, if the numerator was equal to 5 here, that numerator must be equal to 5 because 5 twelfths equals 5 twelfths. So I know that these two numerators must be the same as each other. So 10a minus 19 is equal to 6a plus 2. And now we just need to solve that. So I'm going to take away 6a from both sides. So take away 6a and take away 6a. On the left-hand side, we'll be left with 10a, take away 6a, that's 4a minus 19 is equal to 2. Let's now add 19 to both sides, so add 19 and add 19. So that'll give us that 4a equals 21. And then finally, divide by 4 and divide by 4, we get that a is equal to, and 21 divided by 4 is 5.25, or 5 1/4. So a is equal to 5.25. And that's it, we're done. And that's it. So these have been the video solutions to the Corbettmaths Practice Questions on equations involving fractions. If you need any extra help on this topic, if you go to Corbettmaths and go to the videos and worksheets section, there'll be a video tutorial. Video 111 is the video tutorial on solving equations involving fractions. Alternatively, you can wait to the end of the video, and I'm going to put an icon at the end of the video that you can click on and bring you straight to that topic. Also, at the end of the video, there'll be an icon for subscribing to Corbettmaths YouTube channel. And if you could subscribe, that'd be fantastic as well. So I really, really hope you found this video useful. And if you have found it useful, please like the video, please subscribe. And if you want to watch that tutorial, feel free to as well. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.